Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Every month, CIG release a monthly report about what they've worked on, are working on, and hints about what they're working on in the future. They've kind of also now distributed this across the ATVs that they do as their shows every week, and I'm going to mulch down these shows and the monthly report into more useful wood chippings of information, as well as giving you updates on the next patch release, concept ships, Spectrum's progress, the Delta Patcher, and other important info as a wider overview of the project each month. I'll be doing something like this. It's a big info dump, so prepare thyself. Star Citizen's funding is over $145.2 million now, all of which is crowdfunded, and that's its current, as time of recording, funding total. Patch 2.6.2 is the next patch that we will get. It's a quality of life patch for all aspects of the game, as well as some much needed balance and bug fixing. There are some more major additions to this patch as well. The multiplayer mega map, which eliminates a huge amount, if not all, of preload time and is essential for the seamless end goal of Star Citizen. There are also a large amount of UI improvements, network optimizations too. The live release of 2.6.2 is still estimated for the 23rd of March. You can see the latest guesstimate estimates in internal timelines from Star Citizen over at robertspaceindustriescom/schedule-report, and that has every Friday an update. Spectrum. So Spectrum is the new communication platform of which all of the RSI forums and most of the community interaction are kind of transitioning to. If you want to get involved with the Star Citizen forum-y community, talk to devs and the like, Spectrum is the place to do it. It is eventually supposed to be a one-stop shop for Star Citizen, supporting various different things that you would want to do, whereas such as VoIP, talking game, organising your organisations, forums. It's basically going to be a mixture of Discord, Skype, and loads of other stuff, as well as in-game messaging and all that sort of jazz. So Spectrum has an incredibly quick cycle of iterations around every 2 weeks, where it keeps on getting updated and a new patch will come out. Basically, community feedback shape that communication platform as we use it. In the short term, they're adding thumbnails and Reddit-style threads. That will be in the very near future. Medium term, they want native support to mobile platforms. Longer term, it will have in-game and desktop integration, voice over IP. They want command and sub-channels as well, so you can organise raid-type scenarios. And they will be giving us some more information on orgs and group functionality very shortly. Concept ships. So we saw the Anvil Hurricane, the older heavy fighter glass cannon went on sale. It's a two-man fighter with a turret focus that has a low capacity for taking damage, but a high amount of kind of dealing that firepower out. The manned turret in the back has 4 size 3 guns attached to it as standard, and it has another 2 on its nose. It should be relatively quick in a straight line, but not very agile. It is a huge damage dealing behemoth of a very small kind of package, but huge amount of guns, and it should suit a particular type of player, and will be the platform which they test turret gameplay on, or at least trying to improve it further. There is also going to be a new Banu concept ship going on sale around the end of March. This should give us some more info on the Banu race and show some of the Banu merchantmen as well. We don't know too much about it at the moment, but we will have to wait and see. As I said, towards the end of March is the plan for that sale. Ship updates. There have been a large amount of visual ship updates showing off progress on the Reclaimer, Idris, Javelin, Razor, Buccaneer, Hull C, as well as the Cutlass Black rework and Aurora rework. I will include those visuals throughout the video. The Delta Patcher, Turbulent have been working on that Delta Patcher in conjunction with Austin. We haven't got an ETA on it at the moment, but we do know they have a working internal build, and it will be into our hands as soon as it is humanly possible for it to be so. So as soon as possible with the Delta Patcher, as soon as we actually have a hard date or some more info on that, we will share it. Game optimization. Vulkan is a cross-platform 3D graphics and compute API built upon Mantle. It allows for an extremely cross-platform use, so supports Windows 7, 8, and 10. Plan for Star Citizen now is to focus on Vulkan for the future, rather than DirectX 11 and 12. Ali Brown, the Director of Graphics Engineering at RSI, said some stuff on the subject, which we'll read now for quoting. Years ago, we stated our intention to support DirectX 12, but since the introduction of Vulkan, which has the same feature set and performance advantages, this seemed a more logical rendering API to use, as it doesn't force our users to upgrade to Windows 10, and opens the door for a single graphics API that could be used on all Windows 7, 8, 10 and Linux. As a result, our current intention is to only support Vulkan and eventually drop support for DirectX 11, as this shouldn't affect any of our backers. DirectX 12 would only be considered if it gave us a specific substantial advantage over Vulkan. The APIs really aren't that different though. 95% of the work for these APIs is to change the paradigm of the rendering pipeline, which is same from both APIs. Performance in Star Marine, Arena Commander and Persistent Universe should all improve somewhat in 2.6.2 with some of the network optimizations and that sort of stuff, but 3.0 is where the major improvements to the network code with Star Network, as well as a lot of other server, network and game optimizations, will start to come in. Star Citizen will support more threads in the future as well for your CPU cores, and it will be significantly more optimized for both NVIDIA and AMD cards, as well as Intel and AMD processors, so just bear that in mind. ETAs on 3.0 and Squadron 42. The studios are all focused on getting Alpha 3.0 and Squadron 42 Episode 1 into our hands as soon as possible. There is no ETA for either of them yet, other than in 2017, but as soon as that changes, I will provide an update. Let's have a more in-depth look at what each of the major studios have been doing in the last 4 weeks. CIG Los Angeles, amongst other things, have been working on new damage system. Some ships are already using it. It creates organic effects for damage via procedurally generated material, internal gubbins, and the skeleton of the ship. Working on physics-driven destructibles, props, and their behaviors to Item System 2.0, as well as their improving networking persistence and the FX optimization. They've been implementing facial idols for pilots in all ships, so no more blank stares out of the ships when people are looking at you through the MISC Starfare or whatever, when you just see their dead eyes. They have developed a tool for marking up zones that they use for the by the renderer to correctly show and layer different areas of character meshes with pieces of clothing or armor worn, so that you actually have a layered clothes system that doesn't clip through and that your layers of clothing matter visually. They are able to automatically zone and split any number of assets regardless of topology and implement them into their zone culling feature for their extensive database of character art. They don't need to manually update all this stuff that they've improved, basically. It can be done automatically. They have prototyped an interaction system, in fact, which is an interface by which players would be able to manipulate various objects in the world. They showed a small radar device here, which could be moved around, as well as placed in drawers and moved around and activated and actually operated as some form of radar. The second prototype they did there as well was how the player controls the properties of items, specifically ship items here, to manage their signals generated by entities like spaceships, from power to shields to weapons and thrusters, all of that kind of managed outputs, emissions, heat, power consumption, all that sort of stuff. It allows them to change the numbers for these items in a controlled way so that they can do balance significantly more easily, and they can actually see the outputs of everything, and they can get a much quicker feel for balance and how items are interacting with each other. Lots of work has been done with Cutlass Black, Buccaneer and Aurora's rework, as well as another ship that they can't discuss yet. I'm actually very much looking forward to that Aurora rework now. The ship stat page is being updated as well to the most current specs, and they will be regularly updating those stats to mirror changes now too. But it looks like a whole host of other information will be there, including fuel information, how many stations that can be interacted with on the ship, beds, and even the full ship sizes are going to be put on there as well. They've been working on instance properties, allowing designers to modify parts of an entity component in-game. This saves a lot of time and space from their point of view, and allows for a lot more variations for these entities. For the radar, they've added a timer value to specify how much time an entity can remain as a contact on a radar, and also the ability to make anything radar detectable should they choose to. And they've added object databank linking and unlinking features, so entities can inherit databank entries. This basically allows a player to inherit information from a ship that they are using or sitting in, and that's an example of that usage. There's a new scanner gameplay stuff for the radar, so you can reveal more or hidden information on the radar or on scanned objects. They're adding that in. Lighting states as well are being updated, giving more context for space stations, ship interiors, and environments. They now use light groups to organically control lighting changes. It feels much more natural rather than like a harsh, sharp change. Object container streaming. They are working towards seamless transitions in-game, and the object container streaming system is incredibly important to that. It will allow them to have highly detailed areas and objects without sacrificing performance. This is different from the room system. The room system handles pressure and literally says, this is a container, this can contain oxygen, environmental hazards, pressure, all that sort of stuff. The object container streaming is much more a performance thing. The idea being that it streams in objects and the area that is relevant to you in an optimized fashion. They are replacing the old prefab system in the hangars and shops with an object container, so we should be able to see that in the near future, exactly how that works. Outfits and armor. The deck crew outfit is in its high poly modeling phase and looks pretty cool, as does the Explorer spacesuit that they've been talking about recently. They're finalizing texturing on it and moving it into testing in game. They've been working on the new heavy Outlaw armor. It's going to move into its high poly modeling phase after feedback and alterations are done on its low poly version. It looks absolutely amazing. This is my favourite armour by far, and I hope it looks very similar to what they just showed. The heavy marine armour is in engine as well now, and it's heading over to rigging. Let's take a look at what Foundry 42 Frankfurt will also up to. AI Design have a new tool, the Real-Time Subsumption Visualizer Editor, which drastically increases their speeds. With the first iteration of the mission system and economy, missions will be generated based on stock of items in shops, amongst other things. It does look at the economy at quite a low level, and what's going on with shopping and items and purchases. The idea is to have a responsive and dynamic feeling universe. More tools have come online, allowing animators to render their work more quickly in Maya. They've been completing a new double-barreled shotgun from Castek Arms, as well as polish on some Clausen Warner and bearing weapon sets. They've been finalising the pipeline for a new upgradable modular system for future ship weapons. VFX have tools as well to replace and change the particle system on planets for faster planetary creation and polish and visuals in general, as well as working on an early system for how effects of low oxygen on characters causes them to see differently and causes them to move differently and that sort of stuff. Work with the AI and getting them to interact and with usables in a smart fashion, as well as further work with the main Squadron 42 cast behaviours and 24-hour life cycles for all those people in there. Because they want to have all these AI and NPCs having schedules going around their life whenever you interact with them. And they will have jobs and schedules. A janitor will clean corridors in a 24-hour cycle, sleep, and all that sort of stuff, eat, go about his life. Level design is polishing these outposts that we've seen more recently, especially looking at hydroponics, mining, and storage, which are also configurable internally and externally, which is cool. They've added the ability to tint clouds for a more alien feel, also revised the cloud texture levels of detail to reduce aliasing and shimmer artifacts and all that sort of stuff. The first edition of the solar system editor, from their point of view, is nearly complete. That will allow them to change things and jump in and look at stuff in a much more macro kind of view. Crusaders Moons, Daymar, Yella, and Selin have received a lot of love and attention recently, especially in regards to their ecosystems, exploration, points of interest. They're all looking really great. It looks very beautiful. That procedural tech is week by week looking significantly better. They've implemented a search and rescue mission in Crusader and an important low-level feature, the Super GUID, has been complete. So the Super GUID is a way to connect a variable in Subsumption to an object in the world. In Crusader, they have one main object container of the Stanton system. This container contains several asteroid fields, Port Olisar, Grimhex, and everything else. In the mission logic, they now can have multiple super GUID variables that allow them to access different specific elements within any given structure. We saw some of the character customization work recently on stage at the GDC. 3Lateral went on to talk about it too. So 3Lateral have been working with CIG with face scans and a character database for quite impressive results. With standard CryEngine and Lumberyard, you couldn't swap out geometry. What you saw is kind of all you could have. And that's fine with games that have 20 or less characters, but Star Citizen is going to be an MMO with hundreds of thousands of players, NPCs, and required something with more range. In a similar way, with ship customization using item ports, a similar concept was used for characters and clothing. You're going to be able to select what head you want, skin tone, hair, eyes, but what makes the character customization truly special is their layering system and the way that it works out where your muscles are and joints are. They can create thousands of unique faces from just a few scanned heads. The head and face database will continue to grow in size, and what we saw here was a very early implementation of what they want to do. Quality will significantly improve in the future. The system automatically works out where the joints and muscles are so that characters can read an audio performance and it will conform to any type of face that you can make. And the idea is that you can edit it in ways and Frankenstein it from other parts, only in ways that are at least semi-logical for a human head and face to be. Lighting effects, the way the character reacts to the environment, squinting at light that's too bright, for example, pupils getting smaller, that's all part of their system as well, and reacts how your muscles react based on the situation of your character and, as I said, the lights or the oxygen, all that sort of stuff. CIG Austin have also been working on a few things for the next major release of Star Citizen after 2.6.2. Trade and shopping, primarily. They've made a list of commodities with the main groups of items at the moment being ore, gas, food, voice, which is like narcotics and criminal stuff, and medical. These groups we'll be getting lots of items and subgroups added to them, so we're going to see specific weapons, fuel, types of ore, processed materials, various narcotics, and that sort of thing. Also, they've been working on where you're going to buy and sell those items. So they've added a Truckstop location for the next major release, and a new shop type, the admin office, for buying and selling station imports and exports, specifically, or at least more specifically, where they don't have a TDD, which is like the Jobwell Trade Development Division. So these are mini admin offices for buying and selling goods and checking out the stock market, but also will contain a job board and will be in charge of selling rental space for when they add that to the game, hopefully in the next major release, but we'll have to wait and see for that. The Truckstop locations will be like points of interest around space or on planets or on stations that you will be able to do truck stoppy things with. But they're more likely to be like points of interest dotted around the verse in the same way that we have Cryastro. The variable economy. They have TradeSlayer, which is an end-to-end economic model tool to help them build an economy. The first iteration of an economy that we have will have item prices that are likely to stay within a fixed base range before becoming a more variable economy in the future, which is what they want. They want this mission system to tie in with a variable economy that will generate missions based on what's demanded in the verse, but also they want to use this tool Price Fixer to work out the value of any one good at any one time based on its demand and processes involved in actually manufacturing it. So they're going to have quite an in-depth dynamic economy which is based on demand and trade and missions and what's available to that particular system. Squadron 42 locations are getting some polished passes as well. Retaliator and Connie have been had further optimizations. The Cutlass Black Grey boxing exterior is getting more detail, and the interior is now more heavily Caterpillar-like. The detail in the interior of the Cutlass Black now is amazing. I love the fact that they have used effectively the Caterpillar as the gold standard for this, and the interior just looks so similar to that. It's nice to see Drake with a very strong identity now. The grey box for the Prospector has been complete as well. Obviously we saw a render of that more recently, and they're finalising the Drake Buccaneer animations. There have been improvements to the animation pipelines as well. NPCs will have an eating experience in mess halls as well in regards to animation, where they grab food, eat, drink, and then take the tray back after they're finished eating. They've been improving the friends and contacts and invites and notifications systems for in-game to make it a lot more ergonomic and user-friendly. Diffusion networking stuff, they are starting to be able to support high numbers of concurrent players with more stability. They've been migrating stuff over different cores and different networking stuff. Hopefully this will mean we have significantly better performance with the next major update of Star Citizen, with lots more players in the verse together. They've also integrated Spectrum and current systems to this new diffusion core and networking stuff as well. Star Marine FPS weapon pipeline. So there was an in-depth look at the weapon pipeline for the FPS weapons and some cool footage to go with it. It's very similar to the ship pipeline, but obviously for FPS weapons. But it does give some good insight to how they create weapons in game using hand key animations and how the animators and artists look before they jump in with weapons. So they've been using style guides and giving weapons a brand feel and making sure the manufacturers are kind of have their sovereignty there, so you can tell at a glance what a weapon is. Foundry 42 UK have also been very busy. The player interaction system now allows for better interaction with objects and the inner thought system. New tools have replaced the old systems for setting up missions for Squadron 42 in the persistent universe for a more powerful and optimized experience for the developers, as well as better scaled integration with SolEd, the macro scale universe and object container editor that they use. Locomotion blending into a full run and then back down to a walk and then a stop have been completed to make it look a lot better. AI pathing has also been improved. There's improvements and optimization to lighting, lots and lots of that it seems, and making the lighting look a lot better, as well as not making it consume the world in resources. Networking has finished with the serialized variables and message ordering features for some of the network optimization stuff, though it might get a little more love after testing in 2.6.2. They are also finishing the multiplayer mega map now. Weapons are being animated, polished and finished for first-person shooter-based things, including the P4AR, the P8SC, the P8 AR, the Devastator shotgun, the shoulder-mounted railgun, which looks exceptionally cool, as well as the Gallant and the Arrowhead sniper rifle. Further work on the oxygen and sprinting system for stamina. There's been lots of work on the female rig and final posing for that. More facial work going on at the Derby studio. They do facial animation there, mostly, and mocap-based stuff. Work has also been going on the Aegis Reclaimer's interior and blockout, as we can probably see from some of the background shots as well that you've seen. The Reclaimer was a focus of that ATV. Various work on ships' weapons. Environments have been working on the truck stops and planetary outposts for the next patch, getting their building sets completed, as well as creating a system to integrate bases and terrain elements together for faster placement for these structures. I say the next patch, I mean the next major patch before people think it's supposed to be in 2.6.2. Lots of love for visual effects on planetary environments, atmospheric flight effects, and procedurally generated services. Thruster effects for the Constellation Aquila, interior lighting, and cool damage effects in general have been worked on, making the interior of the Constellation there look pretty cool. More work on the user interface stuff, various improvements on foot and in ship for that. The new kiosk shopping interfaces are being worked on and getting ready for all locations and appropriate shops. There is various new audio for the Dragonfly, the Aquila, the Buccaneer and Prospector, as well as more work to the music composition of Star Citizen, speech processing work, audio fixes, Foley work for noises on different material types being interacted with. So that could be you running on metal and then running on sand, as well as shooting those two different materials. And that's kind of it for this month's update. Remember, commenting on any of my Star Citizen content in a given month gives you a chance to win a ship. For March, that is an Avenger Titan. So please tell me if there's anything you'd like to see in a monthly update information-wise from me. Would you prefer me to scrunch down the studio updates even more, chompy chompy chomp, so it's a much shorter video. All of the links, including breakdowns of the ship updates, the Anvil Hurricane, and pretty much everything else that was mentioned in the links below, as well as some specific looks at the 10 for the Chairman special edition that happened last month or this month. Please feel free to ask any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Star Citizen news, information, and guides. And I will see you in the verse.